Good morning, Nigeria, and I make you welcome. This is Enterprise Morning. Reaching you from Enterprise Television, I am Henry Igwebike. We kickstart today, a day after the 65th anniversary of Nigeria, and we're very so excited to have everyone join us, both at home and those in the diaspora. We kickstart with our newspapers, and right after that will be a main conversation also for today. Do well to be part of what we do. Have a say in what we say. You can always reach us when you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally comment. And follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. Very so honored to have with me right here in our studios, Emeka Maduna, good journalist, public affairs analyst, to see through all that we have from our newspapers, and possibly we crisscross to our main conversation for today. Good morning, Emeka.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you so very much for the time. All right, so let's start with the Vanguard newspaper, people. And we have the big story. Nigeria at 65. Opposition leaders orders take Tinubu to task. And I just want to take one rider to that story. Tinubu unmoved, uncaring amid hunger bandit attacks, and that's coming from Atiku. And another story, and a rider to that particular story, Nigeria failing under APC, and it's coming from Peter Gregory Obi, and so many other riders to that particular story. On the top strip, we have Tinubu not jittery about opposition, and that's coming from the presidency. I love to believe that should be made known to the world by immediate aid to the president, Bayo Ononuga. And other stories, we have that of a Rise TV anchor, Somto Chukwu, jumped from third floor. And that's coming from the FCT police bus. Pengassin suspends strike after federal government's intervention. And on the very top strip there, we have stock market investors earn 1.8 trillion naira in September amid CBN's reform. And we've said it time and time again, these are portfolio investors who are really not interested in the real economy. And, well, I have Emeka to discuss this and more. We have other stories here. 2027, Amechi Obi Otomi Ezekwesili pushed to end courtroom democracy. Another wonderful one, human angle. The Iyaloja general is alien to us, and that's Oba of Benin. Obi Lagos government differ over trade fair complex demolition. Emeka, let's start with the Iyaloja general of is alien to us. The daughter of the president crisscrossing around the country, hoping that Nigerians will recognize her, the Iyaloja. I do not understand what that means. Southeasterner does not know what Iyaloja is. The Northerner has no clue what Iyaloja is. Why then should the daughter of the president want to blanket that unconstitutional status and position on traders around the country?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's part of what we've been saying, you know, this tribal triumphalism, you know, I mean, under Tinubu. And the Oba of Benin means no words about it. I was born in Benin, you know, Benin is my second home. And the Oba is the custodian of Benin culture. And he told her clearly, he said in Benin, what we have is Iyeki. In each market, that we don't have something like, you know,
an overall general.
President General. The Oba is the head of everything in Benin. So you cannot come and, you know, say you have one President General somewhere in Abuja, you know, who will now tell market women, you know, on market day, close down or something against the directives of the Oba.
Yes.
Because in Benin culture, you know, the Oba is, you know, I mean, is, you know, A to Z, you know, in human affairs, you know. And therefore, you cannot issue a counter directive to the Oba's instructions, you know. So, like you find in some places, you just hear that, you know, I've had an experience now when I had you know, when I got a shop for my wife, you know, in the market, one market like that, you know. Sometimes, you know, the sales lady there will just call, that today there's no market. They said they are doing one sacrifice or the other because of one thing or the other. And maybe that's a day you have already planned that, yes, you know, we have got supply of goods.
Yes, and people
that, okay, we will, you know. But, you know, somebody now says, and then somebody will even, some people will even come to your shop and say you have to contribute this, contribute this, contribute this. You know, in fact, there was 1 week like that. It was as if the whole week was spent on, you know, one thing or the other. If it was not doing sacrifice, it was that somebody died, they had to close the market, you know, different things. So the Oba said no. Here, that we don't know about that. We have the Oba market, we have the Obiso market, you know, and we have said this, the authority, you know, authority over those markets, you know, is sacrosanct. Because there has been an issue again recently. You know, the governor is an ESA man.
Okay.
You know, so there has been an issue now that the governor is trying to, you know, impose an ESA woman as the leader of market women in Benin.
Which is sympathical. Don't you think that should be the reason why the Yaloja? Of course, we know that Governor Pebelo is a good friend of the president, and
but not of the president's daughter.
And anything they tell him to do, he literally will not to do. Don't you think that is where the Yaloja, so-called Yaloja, is gaining the ground?
No, let me tell you. See, the Oba of Benin,
yes,
is not a disco Oba. The Oba of Benin is not a warrant chief. Somebody who just no. Benin is an institution. It's not just about Benin is an institution. Benin Kingdom is an institution. So you cannot just come, you know, the way you see governors, you know, kicking traditional rulers around. Remember one governor, you know, in the South, who throws traditional, I'm talking and you are shaking your head. No, you can't say that. To even hear the Oba speak, you know, I mean, it's, you know, so they are very clear, the Benin are very clear about their customs, about their traditions. And they won't allow anybody, because you're a politician or anything, you know, come in and, you know, try to undermine their decision. No. Because governors come and governors go. There was a military administrator, you know, who many years ago during the military, who tried to, you know, I mean, intimidate the Oba, the former Oba of Benin. You know, of course, we know how it ended. It didn't end well for him. He didn't. This story is still told in Benin today. I just don't want to mention his name. You know, I mean, it didn't end well for him. So the point is that however we are playing politics, we should also recognize the, you know, the local nuances, the traditions of people, the customs of people, and recognize the fact that, you know, these things, there must be an interplay of forces. Like you see in markets in Lagos now, you have a Babaloja, you have an Iyaloja, you have the different executives, president of this, Serikin Arewa. In Agege, you have the Serikin Fulani, you know, and all of that. But at the end of the day, you know, they operate in a way that there's, you know, a smooth interplay of forces. So the Oba didn't say, don't inaugurate anybody in this market or in this market, but to say you now have, you know,
the general overseer.
That, you know, that here in Benin, we don't recognize it.
All right. Emeka just gave that awesome phrase there, tribal triumphalism, a really good one there, because I do not understand how someone would, you know, take up whatever it is he believes in and love to lord it over another region or place that he is not coming from or she is not coming from, simply because the father is the president of the country, and therefore everyone should, you know, move in accordance to the direction that they want to. But let's take a look at other matters here. Tinubu not jittery about opposition, and that's coming from the presidency. Emeka, of course, if they are not jittery, then why would they even be complaining in the first place?
Well, it's the same thing any president will say. If you go to the United States, Donald Trump will tell you, I don't know about the Democrats. But at the end of the day, the U.S. government is shut down right now.
Why are they even shut down? Because
because
here, U.S. shut down visa, passport service to continue in Nigeria.
They couldn't agree on a bill, on a healthcare bill. So with that, when there is no consensus, the government has to shut down till you know, the congressmen and the senators can reach an agreement. The Republicans wanted some concessions, but the Democrats were not willing to give it. That is politics. So it's the same thing when the presidency says that we are not jittery about the opposition, but you have appointed people into different WhatsApp groups to be abusing people, to be, saying things, supporting, making horrible comments against people that even some people close to the president have had reason to say, no, this is not right. This is not right. You don't bring up little children to be abusing the people of the age of their fathers or their grandfathers. You are not doing well. You are not teaching them. You are not helping their future. Because one day they will get to that position. And if we allow anarchy to reign, then we're not helping ourselves. It's not about politics, it's not about governance. We ought to know that we're in a democratic society. Every Nigerian has a right to play politics, to live anywhere, to do your business anywhere, and all of that. But you see, there are conflict entrepreneurs. There are people who earn money, people like Renaud Mokri, I'll say it openly, who make money from spinning horrible narratives. And because the Nigerian media pretends not to know better, so Nigerian media just help, even ridiculous things.
Yes.
He came the other day and said that Kaduna Abuja highway had become safer. A week later, some people were killed and some were kidnapped on that same Kaduna Abuja highway. But I challenge my colleagues. I say, what you people are doing is you forget that history will judge all of us. If you carry the story that Kaduna Abuja highway is safe, pray that one day bandits, you don't run into bandits on that Kaduna Abuja highway. And then you will learn better, because you think that people who say the highway is not safe and all that, you think they are stupid because you live somewhere that you think is safe. It's so sad. Insecurity has become so bad in Nigeria. Look at the Arise TV anchor. In Katampe is a place where people of means stay. It's not like Maraba, or some of those places, So if a group of 18 armed robbers could go from flat to flat to flat in 15 minutes in a highbrow area. Remember, sometime last year too, there was the same problem in Asokoro. Asokoro is where the who is who in Nigeria live. So you and I who live in those kinds of places, you understand what I mean? Only God is our helper. So when the opposition says that you're not doing well in terms of security, you're not doing well in terms of the economy, you're not doing well in terms of so many things. Yesterday, a friend of mine living in the United States, we had a brief chat on WhatsApp, and he was saying that investors, Nigerian businessmen abroad, are worried that we don't have a single ambassador all over the country. And that people, when you make inquiries from the embassies, nobody is telling you anything about investments and all of it. Nobody is answering your question. So, when you say you are not jittery about your opposition, you are not saying anything. You are just blowing hot air. Because what I challenge them is that I say, go out there on the streets. Go out there on the streets. Go to any market in Abuja. Ask them, how are things really faring with you? Go to anywhere. Go to Agege, Oshodi. Go to Onitsha. Go to Kano. Go anywhere, Kaduna, go anywhere. Ask the people on the streets. As you say that interest rates drop. Who are you kidding? You reduce the basis points from 27.5 to 27%. How does that affect the price of fish? Ghana reduced inflation rate from 23% to 11 point something percent. That is a whole jump. And it will affect so many things, because what it means, you see, one thing people don't realize that when inflation rises, it's not because the market women just woke up and decided to gang up and no, the government is engaged in excessive borrowing. That is the problem. The money that you and I, other businessmen, should go and seek for, maybe in terms of loans, maybe in terms of commercial papers, government is getting the money. And you and government, you cannot compete with the government when it comes to things like loan. Because the government goes to the bank, and the banker say, okay, this loan, what we are going to do is that we are going to call in, some loans. We are going to suspend some loans. Okay, but for us to do that, you have to pay 35%. Government will say yes now, Abi. They are expecting allocation. Now, given the feeding bottle democracy we have in Nigeria, no problem. And then the government will borrow at 35%. But the ordinary businessman, if you take 35%, how much is remaining? Remember, he's going to pay taxes. Oh, he's going to pay VAT 7.5%. He's going to pay 10% withholding tax. Then he's going to pay personal income tax of his workers. He will pay rent. He will pay different things. Even submitting a bid for a contract, he will have to show he has a pension plan. He will have to show he has health insurance. You know? So, pension plan, the employer pays 10%. So, if he has like 50 workers that are going to do that job, you can imagine 10% like that. By the time you factor in everything out of a contract, a friend of mine was telling me some last week, you know, he got a contract, you know, I think about 100 million or something. And some people were telling him, government officials were telling him to bring 22 million up front as settlement. 22 million. He was not said, so we now sat down and did some mathematics. Remove 22 million from 100 million. Yeah? Remove government taxes. Remove this, remove this, remove this. How much will be remaining? That's why you see many projects abandoned. That's why you see foreign investors will come into Nigeria with high hopes and they will run away. Why? Because the corruption in the system. When Ononuga says they are not G3, they know why. Because what's no problem, we can go to IMF and we can go to IMF. When World Bank says they can't lend us money, we go to IMF. Or we go to one country or the other. Just spin one story to them, you know, and we'll get a loan. But if you have prudence in government, you will know that every kobo lost is a big problem. So that's why you see inflation rising. But if government says, okay, President Tinubu has said that they will stop domestic borrowing. If you're stopping domestic borrowing, what about the loans? You have reconfigured the loans now to 40 years, 50 years. The fact that you stop borrowing, have you paid the ones you borrowed? So that is why the economy is like this. It's not because one devil, you know, one devil somewhere, one demon somewhere. No. You know, some people just try to put fear in people. No. It's very simple. The fundamentals are very clear. Government borrowing recklessly crowds local businessmen out of the capital market. So what do you have? You have people coming to the capital market to buy treasury bills. And look at what treasury bills are. So if I'm in government, I can steal, if I steal 100 million and I take it to the stock market, that's already 17.3%. Upfront, I've not done any work. I just managed to steal money. Right? It might even be money for one thing or the other, for one government expenditure or the other. 100 million. I'm getting 70. I will walk away. By the time you remove VAT, 7.5%, you remove 10% withholding tax, I will walk away from that bank with 15-point-something million naira. How about that? Or let's say 14.8 or 9 million naira. Right? And then that money will be there for, I think, 322 days out of 365 days in a year. The treasury bills will be there for 322 days. I'm already enjoying my 17, I'm already enjoying my, 15-point-something million, right? Then, that money, government borrows it, puts into a project. At the end of the 322 days, I get my principal back, right? How do you now put that money to use? Because if such money was available to, let's say, businesses, contractors and all that, they will employ people. Let's say you give let's say, a contractor one road project, and he goes to the bank. The bank makes recourse to the capital market to raise money, and all of that. They know that, yes, if we quickly do this project, we'll get payment. All the workers will be paid. You will see some women selling food, selling bread, selling akara, and the rest of them, selling pure water and all that. Everybody, money will go round. But when the federal government is borrowing recklessly, the state governments are borrowing recklessly, that is why inflation will rise. But if they can stop and make efforts to settle what they are owing, let me see, this inflation that's now over 20%, I think about 24%, if this inflation can drop to, let's say, 14%, you will see the difference. It's not rocket science. You will see the difference. The difference will be there. But when they are talking, they talk here, they think we are stupid. We do our research every day on all these things. Thank you.
All right, that's a good and a great one. The problem is multifaceted. We truly do hope that something will be done about all of this many issues that we have. The presidency says they are not jittery of everything the opposition have going on. But of course, everything still boils down on 2027. If there is a free and fair election, is it possible that the presidency might even win? And that is the big question. Until then, we hope and see. Emeka, just before we wind down for this segment, will be Lagos government differ over trade fair complex demolition. He was there actually at the Lagos International Trade Fair. Warm welcome from everyone. And he addressed the traders there, made some significant examples of how that particular businessman whose property was demolished in the presence of his foreign partners.
Chinese partners.
And
Yes.
he wondered if those Chinese partners would come back to Nigeria yet again, and the wrong perception that we have. When would we ever possibly distill when government comes to do the right thing as against doing that with an agenda enlisted in it?
It's a very simple thing. You see, you cannot eat your cake and hold on to it. It's very simple. When you bring up issues, people bring in tribalism and all that. We just tell them, look, all these things don't put food on your table. Listen, if you can speak the truth, that's why I tell you, just tell the truth. Let's leave all these lies. You went to the trade fair complex, which is concession, which is managed by an authority. There's an agency there's an administrative setup that manages the trade fair. It's not just like any market. So people built, plazas, about 19 plazas. They got requisite approvals from the federal government. It's just like going to Muritala Mohammed Airport to say you want to go and demolish shops in Muritala Mohammed or inside a Apapa Port. Can you do that? Or inside the military barracks, you enter Ikeja cantonment. Can you do that? So they got requisite approvals from the federal government. I know Lagos State government had gone to court on issues of jurisdiction. That okay, look at somewhere like Festac, for instance. To what extent can we exercise authority of the state government in terms of approvals and this and that? But what has always happened is that the federal government, the state, and even local government, because you have a more of a local government inside Festac, they come together and they agree. In this case, there are still issues of the jurisdiction. Instead of you to go to court to say, okay, there is this Supreme Court judgment that spells out issues of jurisdiction in when there are conflicts between the federal, state, and local government. That okay, we need an interpretation. You go to the Supreme Court, we need an interpretation because we want to, take certain steps inside Lagos Trade Fair. If you really have a basis to do that, you don't become the judge, the prosecutor, and the judge. That is where Lagos State government is getting it wrong.
But how about the excuse that they have that the buildings were built in the wrong places? So that is not even a factor.
I can't come to your house and say that you put a mattress in your sitting room. That, it is wrong. When I don't have the jurisdiction, that's what we're talking about. If you say they were built, you should have made recourse to the federal government, made recourse to the agency. And then, you see, if, You are watching them. You watch them build this plaza. You could have stopped them.
Yeah, at
through the court.
Infancy, actually.
You could have stopped them because one of the plazas, the promoter said it had a helipad. You know, where he says it was about 7 billion. You could have stopped them. But you see what we have is that because I'm into real estate. You see government officials, they occupy, they'll just come to where you're putting a market. Possibly another team has come. They will go get settlement, clean mouth. The other team will pass. It is when you start shouting that, okay, and then even when you process papers, look at the case of Peter Obi's brother in Ikeja. How can two people hold C of O, certificate of occupancy to one structure? It shows that some people have indulged in criminality somewhere. And these things are happening all over the country. It's not just in Lagos. It's just that, of course, Lagos as the former federal capital, as the commercial capital, of Nigeria and all of that, So, I mean, anything that happens in Lagos receives wide publicity. It should be so. Because given its, prominence in national affairs. But what I'm saying is that if you are going to take any step, you must have a human face. Put on a human face. Because it is not proper. Like what is happening in Ikota. You're saying you are clearing structures for draining. For how long will you continue doing that? If you don't have preventive measures, you will do in Ikota today. Tomorrow, maybe it's Babish you go to. Then another day, you will just you will just be dissipating government's time, government's resources. Because those bulldozers that used to pull down, you hire them. You use diesel. Time that government should spend on developing its economy, you are spending it on demolishing, then the issues that follow, then court and all this. You can avoid those things.
Because Emeka is becoming very, scary right now investing in Lagos, because you are not sure really which of the administration might come and bring down your building.
Even the same thing with Abuja. People have come to me, we have land in Abuja. I said, please, keep your Abuja land. Keep your Abuja land. I can't get an investor.
Exactly.
To go and buy land in anywhere in Abuja. Even if President Tinubu stamps C of O, I won't. Because, you see, you don't see that attitude of development. All you see is just, we build road, we build bridge, we build school, we build hospital. There is no, you should have that overarching development plan that says, okay, if we're going to do a road into this place, right? Okay, what and what will follow? There should be water, there should be police station, there should be this, there will be estates and all of that. That's why you see in some countries, when people begin to express interest in an area, government will go there, clear the road, and put poles.
Exactly, because I watched a viral video in Ivory Coast where once a place is earmarked for building, it's the government that goes first. Put in poles, put in water, put in whatever
the Land Use Act.
Then
the
allow
Land
for people to
the
now
Land Use
start
Act.
to develop.
The Land Use Act says that all lands are vested in the governor of the state where the lands are. But there are exceptions where the federal government, has interest in this and this and this. You settle such things. And that is why you've seen states have gone, Lagos State and the federal government have gone to the Supreme Court on a number of occasions on one issue or the other. It is normal. But the point is this. Even the governor and President Tinubu had problems over land allocations, over dredging. So the thing is not just Lagos State government versus owners of plazas. Even the federal government and Lagos State government are having issues with, in terms of, all of those things. Land reclamation, dredging, and all of those things. So I think the Lagos State government should develop a template that ensures that these things don't happen in the future. Preventive template.
Very, very well said, preventative template. And this is really a clarion call to the Lagos State government. I truly do believe, of course, it is very factual that Lagos is the economic capital of West Africa. But I still want to believe that the government, people running the Lagos State government, should not get over themselves, thinking that this might remain forever. Because it only takes a little mistake to overturn all of this. Cairo today in Egypt, it's no longer what it used to be. It's a no-go area. No tourist will love to go to Cairo because they've messed the whole city up. And that's the reason why the current president had decided to move the capital, rebuild another city, because Cairo is a no-go area. They've totally messed the whole place up. And it's a ghost of itself, you know, and this is equally a very good a lesson for Lagos. Don't destroy, you know, rather than develop your economy, because that is what it takes. Nigerians need to all come together to ensure that the city becomes what it is. But when there's some subtle sort of agenda, you know, enlisted in some of these things, it's really not telling well on the governance structure of the state. Emeka will still be here to take us on our main conversation. That is when we return. Rivers Governor Fubara drops the cabinet members. That's in the Beta Steel Enterprise morning. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.